In this video, we're going over two examples for Pythagorean theorem. They're the first two, well, I guess it's the first question, part A and B of your Pythagorean theorem practice sheet. It says that two sides of a right triangle are 5 centimeters and 7 centimeters. And in part A, we're going to find the missing side if these are legs. So what it means by legs of a triangle, or specifically a right angle triangle, the legs are the two shorter sides. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a diagram of what that would look like. Now it doesn't have to be perfect, it's just to give us an idea of what's going on. So we have our 5 centimeters and our 7 centimeters on the two shorter sides, and the longest side, which remember we call the hypotenuse, is what we're looking for. So if we're doing Pythagorean theorem, we need to start with the formula, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then from there, we fill in the pieces that we know. So if 7 and 5 are the shorter sides, those are A and B. So I'm also going to label my triangle with my ABC and then fill those parts in. Next, I'm going to square those. So remember, the little 2 in the exponent means squared. And when I square a number, I multiply it by itself. So 7 times 7 is 49, and 5 times 5 is 25. And next, I'm just going to add 49 plus 25. So if I have 49 and I'm adding 25, 49 plus 20 would get me up to 69, and then 5 more would give me 74. Next, I need to solve for the unknown, so I need to find out what C is. So what we've done is we've used flowcharts, just like we did when we were solving linear equations. So in our flowchart, we always start at the bottom. So we're starting with c by itself, and then what we have in our equation is c squared. So to get from c to c squared, we square it. Then on the other side of our equation, we have 74, so we put 74 in the box. And then on the way down, we do the opposite. So the opposite of squaring something is taking the square root. So we're going to take the square root of 74. You can use a calculator to help you, but you should also think in your head, 74 is between which two perfect squares? Well, that would be 64 is 8 times 8, and 81 is 9 times 9. So we know that our answer should be somewhere between 8 and 9, which it is. It's 8.60 approximately. So the missing side is 8.60 centimeters. For part B, we're asked to find the missing side if these are a leg and a hypotenuse. So going back to what we said, we know a hypotenuse is always the longest side of a right angle triangle. So when I'm going to draw this, 5 and 7 are going to be a leg and a hypotenuse. I know 7 has to be the hypotenuse because it's bigger than 5. So 5 couldn't be the hypotenuse and then have a leg be longer than it. That's not how it works. Hypotenuse is always the longest. So again, I'm going to start by just drawing a quick sketch to sort of get an idea of what I'm doing. Okay, so I put 7 on the longest side and 5 on one of the legs, doesn't really matter which one. And then I need to solve for the other leg. So I'm going to start with the formula, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And I'm going to put a, b, and c on the sides of my drawing and then fill in those values into the formula. You'll notice that I've left a as a because that's what I'm looking for. That's what I don't know. I fill that in, and then I need to square everything. Remember, square means multiply by itself. So for 5 squared, I have 5 times 5 is 25, and for 7 squared, I have 7 times 7 equals 49. Okay. So then I need to solve for a. So again, when we're solving, we use a flowchart. So I'm actually going to set that up and I think take it a little more step by step this time. So when I'm figuring out how many boxes I need one for my a, one for the squared part, and one for the 25. So I have 3 going up and 3 going down. So the first part I'm doing there is I'm putting in my egg, and I'm thinking, what's the first thing that happens to a? Well, it gets squared. So from a to a squared, I've squared it. Then if I'm looking at my equation, the next thing that happens is that I add 25. So I'm going to add 25 on my flowchart. For the next part, I'm going to take 49 from the other side of the equation, fill it into the other side of my flowchart, and then remember on the way down the flowchart, we'd always do the opposite. So on the way up, I added 25, so on the way down, I need to subtract 25. Okay, that gives me 24. And for my last step, what I need to do is on the way up, I squared it. So on the way down, I need to do the opposite, which is take the square root. So when I take the square root of 24, I get 4.9, which again should make sense to us because 24 is almost 25. So the square root of 25 is 5. So the square root of 24, which is almost 25, should be almost 5. And 4.90 is almost 5. So we find out that the missing side is 4.90 centimeters. So that is the first question on your Pythagorean Theorem practice page. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out and ask me about them. The answers to all of them will be up on the website shortly.